separation because it's not a true 50-50 balance. But over time, as they do the work, they have to do the work, and they start changing their mindset and taking some actions. I've noticed people lose weight during our time together.
Yeah.
Start working out again. And it's really, and then that impacts how they show up at work and right, their communication and their relationship. So yeah.
Their ability to think clearly and their energy level and, you know, all those things that you need to have to be a high performer.
Right. So on that note, how can leaders begin to take responsibility for their own health in this kind of new paradigm?
Well, you know, keeping in mind that, like, you don't have to be the CEO of a company to be a leader, right? Parents are leaders of their children. You can be leaders of your siblings. Even just showing up at work in the right way, in some fashion, you are being a leader to those below you. Okay. So with that in mind, what can we as a whole do about our health? I will tell you, number one, numero uno is weight lift. And that is not an option if we want to stay independent during our lifetimes. This is one thing that we really have to change, especially for women, because, you know, I'm 46. When I was in college, Kate Moss was the beauty ideal, right? I am 5'9". I've never been a size 0 in my entire life. So like that was not, and we were told that muscles were ugly. And even now I know, like, some women I know will be like, I can't weight lift. I'm going to bulk up. I'm going to look like a man. You're not. I've been doing CrossFit for 8 years now, and this is as bulky as I get. So, but pick your poison, you know, no muscles or a nursing home. Like, you know,
yeah.
So that's, it seems so basic, but it's true. You know, there are two kinds of strength. There are the kinds that keep us upright and help us push and pull heavy things. And there's the cardiovascular performance. So more like walking, running, biking, swimming. But it's the weightlifting that's going to keep our health on track and it's going to help keep away insulin resistance. It's going to prevent falls. It's going to slow cognitive decline. You know, all the things that we worry about as we age, the majority of them, so many can be controlled or limited by maintaining a good, healthy muscle mass. So that is the first thing. Okay. Number two, getting processed foods out of our diets to the best of our ability. There's no shortcut there. You have to shop the perimeter of the grocery store, right? Anything with a cardboard box, probably not something we should be eating. You know, I was reading over a paper yesterday from a group of physicians who are advocating that the underlying cause of all cancer is disordered glucose utilization in cancer cells. And, you know, watching the logic laid out, I don't think they're wrong. And it keeps coming back to processed foods and high sugar foods. You know, it's just not good for us. So getting the junk out of the diets, and, you know, I'm not advocating paleo or vegan or anything else. And to some extent, we all have to kind of experiment with our own bodies and see what feels the best to us. But being intentional about what we put in our mouths and our body and using it as fuel, because that's what it is. It is fuel to keep our bodies going in a healthy way. The other thing that I really advocate for are the right supplements. The research coming out about supplements is insane. It's so cool. I love it. Have you seen the research about creatine and Alzheimer's?
No, but share it. Yeah.
There was a study that just came out. They had all these Alzheimer's patients. They gave them 20 grams of creatine a day, and their cognition got a lot better.
Wow.
They're finding basic nutritional things: creatine, collagen, vitamin D. You know, we can keep going, but a lot of these chronic disease states that are devastating our society right now are getting better if we jack up the nutrition and optimize it. And that would be the last thing I would say, is that we've got to switch our mind state from managing chronic disease to optimizing health. That should be the name. Is not just, okay, I'm just pre-diabetic right now. Nope. We're not sitting here waiting for you to become diabetic, and pre-diabetic glucose levels are far too high as it is. So what can we do to optimize your glucose control? That needs to be the next step.
Yeah. Well, even that term, because again, I pay attention to language. Yeah. It's like planting a seed in somebody's brain that you are on your way, and that it's inevitable that this is the direction that your body's going to go in. No, it's not.
Nope.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I also love what you said about not one diet. It's not a one size fits all. I've seen people go vegan and get healthier. I've seen people need to come off being vegan because their health was suffering and they needed to start eating a carnivore diet. I myself, I have food allergies. I can't have gluten. My health skyrocketed when I took it out of my diet. And in terms of nuts, like what would you say is the healthiest nut? I've heard that the walnut is. I'm actually allergic to walnuts. So.
Yeah. I hate it when they, like, somebody says, well, the healthiest anything is XYZ.
Yeah.
Well, if that were the truth, then that would be the only thing on this planet. But that, but we have this selection of things. So, moderation is key, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on, because I could talk about this stuff with you all day long. But okay, so another question for the audience. What is one way that you've started redefining health in your own life beyond just physical well-being? And so where we're going next is the cumulative trauma and personal turning point for you. Yeah. So you shared that your own shift came from that accumulation of trauma during your medical career. And that's something that a lot of leaders in companies can relate to, because they carry years of invisible weight, if you will. And I don't just mean physical. Yeah. In fact, as far as work trauma, the term of work trauma is finally being stated and allowed to be talked about. So what was that moment when you realized that something had to change?
I don't know that it was one moment, but it was certainly a time in my life. I'm an emergency medicine physician. I have a wellness practice, but I still practice emergency medicine. I've been in the ER for 25 plus years. I mean, that's, pronouncing somebody dead is an average shift. So, the amount of traumatizing things that most people deal with maybe once in their lifetime, like that's just what happens when you show up in the ER, right? But on top of that, I joined the U.S. Navy to pay for 3 years of medical school, and so I did undergrad at Florida State. I went straight to the University of Florida College of Medicine, straight into UF Shands Jacksonville for emergency medicine training. And that's phenomenal emergency medicine residency. Well, it's phenomenal for a reason, because of the high rates of trauma and critically ill patients, to include children. So, that's an insane 3 years right there. And then I went on active duty, and within 7 months of leaving residency, I was in Afghanistan. And, the day-to-day on a deployment is far less hectic than your average morning in a trauma center. But the trauma of cracking a 20-year-old Marine's chest, cutting through the names of his buddies that he tattooed on his body who were killed, and now he's dying, like that's a whole other level that I wasn't anticipating. It's very different than dealing with, the guy from death row who creeps you the hell out. Like, why he's there, right? That I was able to kind of stuff down that trauma for a very long time. In 2018, on my 39th birthday, my brother-in-law was killed in Syria. And I was I'd seen the Fox News headline about a military helicopter going down near the Iraq-Syrian border. I said, nope, Carl's okay. He's going to be the QRF. He's going to respond. It'll be all right. It'll be okay. And then just before midnight, while I was on shift in Walterboro, South Carolina, I got a text from my sister that Carl was that it was his flight. And
Yeah.
That was a really sucky night. I had to work 7 hours after that. And, talking to patients and then just bursting out crying and having to tell them why. And so that that experience and what that
You're good.
did to our family put me in a position where I had to, it brought everything from Afghanistan just straight up. Um, and then made the day-to-day, more mundane trauma harder to deal with. And so I had to do something about that. And on top of it, my marriage fell apart, and not because of the trauma, you know, lack of priorities and poor choices, but and I could handle that. That was okay. Those two things, I had it together, and then COVID hit.
Oh God.
That was
Yeah.
the straw that broke the camel's back. I had two small children in the middle of nowhere, literally on 5 acres, and with some scary stuff going on in the background, and then COVID on top of everything. And that just broke my body. Like the things that I had been doing that took care of my health failed. I had when my marriage first started falling apart, I took up CrossFit, and that was a godsend for me. I had a group of women who were looking out for me, and all their kids were little together, and I was building muscle and accomplishing things like pull-ups and climbing ropes that, I didn't think at 40 I was ever going to be able to do, right? So that really grounded me and gave me a sense of strength that I really needed. But then COVID hit and it just broke me. And like I put on 40 pounds. Like
Wow.
my body hurt so bad. I mean, my back hurt, my knees hurt, my hips hurt. There was nothing I could do. There's didn't matter how much I ate, how little I ate, how much I worked out, how little I worked out. It was just there, and that was the way it was. And I don't know how else to describe it, except it just felt like this high cortisol stress state that I could do absolutely nothing about. Nothing.
Yeah.
And when things sort of started to open up again, I actually went out to the big reward, because for most people for COVID, it wrecked their jobs. But I was like, oh God, job security, here I come, because who are they going to need?
Right.
So that was not, that did not hurt me economically. So as a treat to me and my two children, we flew out to Arkansas to see some friends of mine from the military. And it was such a wonderful trip. We had such a great time. And one of my friends, Linda, she introduced me to a class of drugs I had actually not heard of since I was in since undergrad, called GLP-1s. The first one being the daily injectable Saxenda.
Mm.
And she was like, girl, you got to do it. You're going to love it. And my body just hurt so badly. So I ordered some, and it was within 24 hours. It was like the weight of the world came off my shoulders, and my body didn't feel like I was in a vice grip anymore, and I could breathe.
Amazing. Yeah. And really quick too, just in case people don't know what a GLP-1 is, can you just briefly describe that?
Yeah, so that's a class of drugs, semaglutide, tirzepatide, also known as Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro. The one I'm referring to, Saxenda, was one of the first where you gave yourself a daily injection for weight loss. It had a dual purpose, weight loss and diabetes. I was using it for weight loss. It's kind of in the news cycle right now where it's getting all the hate. But I will tell you, I think that is a miraculous class of drugs that is restoring health in this country to a degree that we have never seen. And, those who have benefited from it know what I'm talking about. And I would ask people who have not been in a position to need them, please do not be hateful and angry about them, because that's a medical decision between a patient and a physician. And we should not be shaming people around it. That's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's, yeah, I mean, the medical choice that has been challenged big time over the last few years in various ways. And, you know, I have heard the other side of how it's affecting people's health in not so great way. But to your point earlier, everybody's body is different, and our reasoning is different. So that's the challenging part of this, because these things are available to us. And yet, you know, how are we making the choice to do it or not to do it? But I also just really want to quickly acknowledge what you've shared with us. And there's some really beautiful support for you in the chat, by the way.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, and appreciating what, you know, because that's a lot. That's a lot to go through in a short period of time. And, you know, and when we get challenged with these kinds of life situations, you know, that's where we are left to a choice. And this is something to create some simplicity around it. It's like we are at choice every single day, every moment of the day, in relation to everything we are doing, every person we come in contact with. And it's really about empowering ourselves. But what has surprised you most about your own healing journey?
You know, I don't know that if anything that was like a surprise. It's more like things have just kind of snuck up on me, and it's been, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Let's see how this works out, you know, because in the middle of this was so random. I started working part-time doing stem cell injections at a clinic on Hilton Head. And, you know, that was something I didn't know a whole lot about. I thought, you know, I would just kind of make people feel better, like steroid injections or something. And then much to my surprise, I'm watching people get better, which was like that, you know, I was at a place in my career where I had resigned myself that I wasn't making anybody better. I was just watching them slowly die horrible deaths and intubating them and coding them in the ICU after watching their health decline for 5 years. That was what my experience in medicine was. And then all this thing that I decided to do because it's close to home and I have 2 small children. Holy cow, people are getting better. I've never seen this in medicine before. I didn't know this was possible. What is going on here? And so that opened a door to learning about a whole section of medicine that was new to me. And on top of it, the owner of the clinic, Brad Fraum, he gave me the professional license to do whatever was best for patients.
Amazing.
Yeah, which, you know, like ask anybody who works for a hospital, you can ask the hospital for something all you want. You're not going to get it.
No, because it's corporate controlled.
Yeah. Versus, you know, because I actually, Brad he's retired now, but he's actually a chiropractor. I got a lot of flack from other physicians for working for a chiropractor. I'm like, you know, I told the man that we needed an ultrasound machine for some of these injections I'm doing, and he got me an ultrasound machine. I don't experience that in any other part of medicine. So, you know, then that opened the door where, you know, the mindset of the clinic was, we are here to optimize health. We want people to get better. We want them to be well. So what can we do to make that happen? And that, you know, and that's where things really took off for me, because I'm, you know, I get a sick patient put in front of me. What can I do to make them better? A lot of the what we have showing up, we have, you know, orthopedic injuries. Some of them, you know, the best thing for them is a surgery. A lot of them, it's not the best thing for them. So recommending some other options. You know, I've got some medical train wrecks that Western medicine has nothing for, absolutely nothing. And it also, you know, really exercises my doctor brain and makes me sit down and say, okay, let me consider this disease process and what I know about this disease process. What is going wrong in this person's body that they are exhibiting this disease process? I may not have all the details like on a cellular level, but I think I know what's going on. And these are the things I know can help make that situation better. So here's your plan of action based off of my medical knowledge. And and it also allows me to pull from, some different disciplines. It's like the best of all possible worlds, right? Because
I love that. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm like, hey, person sits in front of me and talks to me. Let's say they've struggled with alcohol use, and this is very typical of high performers, unfortunately, is alcohol abuse, right? Okay, well, here's what we'll do. It looks like you've got a mood disorder driving a lot of this undiagnosed anxiety that you have been able to funnel into being a CEO, but you've got some things you're losing control of this situation. Hey, I really think let's put you on some Wellbutrin because you kind of look ADD to me a little bit too. We're going to work on maximizing your diet, but Wellbutrin for that, transcranial magnetic stimulation, and maybe some low dose naltrexone and NAD to help just make you healthier in general and work on some of the cravings. So being able to have those conversations and really intervene in super positive ways has been just really, really wonderful.
Interesting. Gosh, I've had to even change the way that I coach certain people because I've noticed a pattern of some leaders, business owners, CEOs, either have been properly diagnosed or self-diagnosed as ADHD or autistic. And I've had to change the way that I engage with them to help them. And yeah, it affects everything. And of course, the stress level and the physiological impact.
Yeah. Well, the bigger transition for me in the last few years has been, I'm 46. Emergency medicine is a young man's game. And, being in the ER for 12 hours where, you go from coding somebody to, I mean, we had this a couple weeks ago. I heard somebody scream, ran in the bathroom, found a guy, somebody else's patient on the ground. And I hate this, but like having to shove the family off just so I can start CPR,
Yeah.
And that's me on my knees doing that, but I'm in good shape. Thank God. Because if I weren't, I would have been a wreck after that.
Right.
And then and me having to say like, hey, I can't do any more night shifts, y'all. I've done them for 20 plus years. I can't think for a week straight afterwards. So I'm done with the night shifts and then moving into the wellness space almost exclusively. I kind of knew this about myself. There's a reason I went into emergency medicine. I'm kind of ADD.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would venture guesses to say anybody in pre-hospital and emergency department settings probably has ADD. Just saying.
Well, and your brains work differently, right? And what I love about it is actually, I don't like to call it a disability. I call it challenges simply because of how it translates in the real world. I've even learned, another time maybe you and I can connect about it, but I've also learned that I have a learning challenge myself. I didn't find this out until my last semester of college. And anyway, it's so impactful.
Yeah. I mean, it's going from, a baby with a snotty nose and an ear infection to a gunshot wound. It does take kind of a special, brain to do something like that. But I also have needed to slow down. And if I'm in the ER all the time, just trying to bandage people back together, I can't, provide the preventative care that I think really gets people's health farther along. And so 2 years ago, my business partner and I actually purchased the practice from Dr. Fraum. And so I'm here full time now so that I can impact more people's lives and optimize health rather than just waiting till they're critically ill, responding to disease and letting them end up in the nursing home. Like, no bueno.
Yeah. Well, I have another question for the audience to think about. Where do you notice unprocessed stress or micro trauma showing up in your body or decision making? Because that will enhance your self-awareness. And I always say, like, until something's right in front of you, you can't do anything about it. It's what you don't know, you don't know. Once you know it, and you see it, you can do something about it.
Yeah.
And as far as, what people can do about, I worked with a leader who felt very suffocated by her manager. And after her manager returned from maternity leave, the relationship shifted and every interaction felt intense. She felt watched, second guessed, professionally diminished, and she blamed herself for a difficult conversation months earlier that left her feeling ashamed and unsafe. And in one session in working with her, we unpacked emotional residue, reframed what was really happening, and mapped the exact language that she could use to build connection without rehashing her past. And by the end, she said that she felt hopeful again with the path forward more than she was able to at the beginning of the session. And so with that, I want to just mention to the audience that I am now offering a single session called the Resolve session. It's one focused session where you can untangle those emotional knots, see the real dynamic more clearly, and walk away with a grounded, honest plan that you can use immediately.
I may need to use that session for myself.
Oh, awesome. I love it. Perfect. Well, I would love to chat with you after, and we'll figure that out. Okay, so the last topic. So future focus, reimagining wellness for the modern leader. So leaders in today's work, they carry other people's well-being while neglecting their own, as we've touched on. And wellness and well-being, it has really ramped up to be a forefront topic just over the last few years, probably due to COVID. And what's interesting about that too, so one of the services that I provide to leaders is if they've taken a 360 in their company, I'll help them debrief that. But I walk them through it very slowly, and I have a very unique way of doing it, and they get a lot from that. Because I think most leaders get their report. Sometimes they read it, sometimes they don't. If they read it, they'll peruse through it really quick, look for what they agree and don't agree, and then they close that document and they never go back to it. So there's a lot that can be seen there. But so what's broken in the way that most executives or entrepreneurs approach their health?
The biggest stumbling block I've seen is getting over the hurdle of investing in yourself and your own health. Okay.
100%, yeah.
And here's what I mean by that is that right now, the best thing, like we as a society have like for the last 2 generations have decided that health insurance and Medicare will make us healthy.
Yeah.
And it is quite the opposite. And we have been letting these entities decide what's best for us. And it is much to the detriment of our personal health and our health as a society. It is in our best interest to invest in healthcare that will preserve health, and that's going to mean out of pocket.
Yep.
It is what it is. I can't change that, but I can change the health trajectory of the patient in front of me. Okay. So that would be the biggest thing I would say is please, please, please do not limit your healthcare to what can be reimbursed by your insurance or Medicare. You're not going to like what comes of that. And you're gonna, end up with cognitive decline at a younger age because you've been burning the candles at both ends. You're gonna be the 55-year-old having the heart attack because you're so stressed out and you haven't been weightlifting, your testosterone's in the toilet, and you haven't done anything about any of these things because insurance will pay for it. Well, that path, that model of decision making about our health will end with us all in nursing homes, which is that's not acceptable for my life.
Sadly, I've even seen people be reliant on their healthcare, and then when something surfaces, their healthcare system fights them on it and actually doesn't support them in getting the care that they need. And so they end up, if they can afford it, because people can't always afford it, unfortunately, need to go outside anyway. Case in point, I mean, I have had some pretty decent healthcare in relation to some things, but I at one point got in a car accident where my car was totaled. And I went to a physical therapist that was paid for by my insurance, and it was doing nothing for me. And somebody referred me to another physical therapist where I had to drive an hour away, pay out of pocket, but she was more of a sports medicine. And once I went to her, I understood how much better she understands the body truly and how it moves. And she got me moving again in ways that I was afraid I would never be able to, and out of pain that the other physical therapists couldn't.
Yeah.
So, well, what does a truly sustainable wellness practice look like for someone who's always on? And what I mean by that is leaders, especially senior leaders in corporations, they're always on. They're working longer hours. They're looked to for decision making, high level expectations. Things are constantly changing, and they have to keep a composure all the time. And it really takes a toll on them, and then allowing certain people to see things and many people to not see anything because of how they have to show up. So, what does a sustainable wellness practice for someone like that look like?
Number one, sex hormone optimization, both for men and women. We know menopause for women. I think men go through something sort of similar, but maybe a little bit more gradually, just from what I've seen with testosterone levels over time. So optimizing sex hormones, optimizing metabolic health, including using GLP-1s if needed. I'd also like to put in there that the number of diseases that GLP-1s have been studied in and shown to be a benefit in is amazing. Doing things like NAD, and I don't like NAD infusions. I like to use it daily injectable periodically. Using other,
just in case people don't know what an NAD is, can you share with us?
Yeah. So NAD is a molecule that's part of the electron transport chain. Literally every cell in our body needs it. It's especially important in heart and brain cells. So NAD to keep you, cognitively sharp is a big one. I prefer to kind of stay away from statins unless there's like a real indication for it, like smoker who's, risking a heart attack type stuff. And then, I'm a big fan of transcranial magnetic stimulation to help stay sharp. We have one in our office. There's a machine called ExoMind that was released last year, and getting on that thing, man, you can talk about some clarity afterwards. It's fabulous. It's like you sit up and it's like the colors are brighter. It's great. So that is part of my protocol for my high achievers, high performers, and also to getting on top of musculoskeletal injuries now, because once you're at the point of being a CEO, you've been on your feet a lot, you've been looking down a lot.
Oh yeah, oh my God, even my own posture, it's like I'm so cognizant of that. Like, yeah, exactly. Keep going.
Yeah, and so your spine's starting to go, and then probably a lot of golf too. Collecting shoulder injuries, knee injuries. And being aggressive with regenerative medicine before you get to the point of needing a joint replacement, and like understanding that you can't be taken out of the game for 6 weeks with the surgery like that. Where CEOs are in terms of what it means for the people in their company and who they're responsible for. Like, you've got to be proactive about your health. You just do. And, choosing non-traditional routes that have better, healthier outcomes, people more functional long terms. I think that's really the way to go.
100%. I've been on that journey. I've always believed in chiropractors, but specifically, I have one in LA that I think he's helped my health in ways that no other doctor ever really could. He's a chiropractic kinesiologist But I'm where I am now. There's a woman. And sorry if you guys are hearing the gardener outside, but there's a woman that I see here who does cranial sacrum work, but she works on literally every joint in my body, and she's moving my bones. And after working on me for 2 hours, I feel like a completely different person when I walk out of there. It is amazing. Yeah. And there's many other natural things I'm doing these days that I was not doing before.
Are you weightlifting?
I'm not weightlifting. I was doing that for a while, but you know what I'm doing now is salsa dancing.
I mean, I love that, but you know, the research shows if you want to live independently, you need to be able to hold 75% of your body weight in your hands for a minute.
Fair enough. And, you know, I need to start doing that again because I was on track with that. But then I started getting dancing where actually it's for balance, for spinning. That's been helpful. Squatting and my legs, like certain moves, my legs are the muscles in my thighs and my legs are so much more
toned.
Thank you. That's the right word. But yeah, the upper body strength, that's where I'm probably lacking. So fair enough.
Bone density, that's the best way to improve bone density is weightlifting. Yeah. So, and you got to be able to get yourself off the ground. You got to, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I used to do yoga in that way and do the plank for X amount of time. But I have an old nerve injury in my right arm that kind of comes and goes. So when I'm able to do it, it's great. But when it's inflamed, it's really painful. But we could talk about that offline. But all right, for the sake of time, one more question for the audience. If you had to rate your current state of wellness overall, physical, mental, and emotional, what area feels most neglected right now? Write that down. So Heather, I love this. I'm so glad that we connected, and I hope that we can connect again very soon. And this is, you know, for me, I talk a lot about transformation, not necessarily calling it out in that way, but I work with people in their lives and their businesses and their careers, and they need to confront truths for themselves to be able to effectively do that. So, you know, what you're doing is taking it to a whole different, deeper field of self-healing. And I thank God there's people like you on the planet. So how can people learn more about you, find you?
Well, my clinic is on Hilton Head in South Carolina. You know, it's a vacation destination, golf, beach, you name it. I love it here. It's amazing. So we're on the north end of Hilton Head. The clinic is Fraum Health, Fraum. So if you go to fraum.com, fraum.com, or you can call our office number 843-681-7777 and speak with our staff. There's no phone tree. You'll just talk to a real person. Yeah, love to help everybody out, as many as I can.
Fantastic. And audience, for those that are here listening, I have a gift for you. If you sign up for my newsletter, a lot of my clients, when they show up to these sessions, there's usually one or two things that they bring to the table. One is difficult decisions, another is hard conversations. And so I've created the Conversation Prep Toolkit. It is complimentary. You can download it from my newsletter, and it will help guide you through and prepare you for a potentially challenging or difficult conversations. And if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me. And if today's conversation resonated, please stay connected. You can subscribe to my newsletter. As I mentioned, you can also like and follow my business page so that you don't miss future lives. And also share this episode with someone who is ready to work on their own health in a different way. Maybe they've been talking about it and, you know, using that word should, like I should do this, I should do that. And it's time for them to take action. So, Heather, anything else you want to share with the audience before we say our goodbyes? We haven't covered?
No, just the biggest thing I would say is, you know, what I say to so many of my patients is that you have the power over your own health. You know, the decisions we make about sleep, stress, working out, and food impact our health far more than any physician ever can. So, you know, please, those are within your power and within your reach. And if you will get your arms around those, your life is yours to own.
100%. Yeah. Honoring yourself. I call it honoring yourself, and treating yourself and your body with that level of respect in a whole new way can be hugely impactful. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Alanna Levenson, and this is Alchemize with Alanna. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you, Alanna.
Thank you.